Hello, this is Katie. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if it's your first time. Today I'm going to be taking you through and we'll be making 12 super cute, simple, easy cards with the Bella Boulevard Monsters and Friends from Peachy Cheap, which does include this doodlebug design washi tape with the goo. It is a kind of a smaller version of the collection, basically, but we have the epoxy stars. And then we have the Monsters and Friends ephemera. And those are all the pieces that are in there if you want to take a look at that. And then we get the sticker sheet. These are a little bit thicker. I would consider them like cardstock stickers. They're not chipboard stickers, but they are thick, so they're really easy to work with. And then the cardboard that came in shipping. And then our papers. So these are the papers from the collection that you get in the Peachy Cheap kit. And Peachy Cheap is basically a daily changing kit for less. And so I'll link their website down below if you're interested. But basically, it is less, first of all, because it is less of the papers. You don't get all the papers from the collection, but you do get what I'm showing you here. And it is a good deal if you missed out on a collection and you want to get it later, or at least some of it. And so I try and keep my eyes peeled for things that I know I will like. I'm pointing out some teal things here that might go good with this teal sky background. So I will be making 12 cards with you. Again, they're super simple and just cutesy. I wanted to use only items from this kit. So I had on Instagram let people know that the kit was available and that I bought one, and that if they wanted or were interested to buy the kit, I would be making a video on some cards to make, because I know a lot of us buy kits with good intentions and then set it aside and never use it. And so I wanted to give you guys some inspiration. So let's make some cards. So I have my tape runner that I'm going to be using, and then I have a lot of these like foam squares. So rather than using my foam tape roll, which I do still use a little bit in this video, I figured I would use up some of my foam squares. And then I kind of pre-prepped. I didn't want this video to be super long. It is sped up 1.5 times. I didn't want it to be an hour long, but I also didn't want it to go too fast. So I did pre-prep some layouts, and this piece here is 3 by 3 3/4 inches, and then any way you want to fold your 4 1/4 by 5.5 card, if you want to cut it with like a book opening style or top fold or whatever, is fine. The card base doesn't really matter. The direction of the paper is what I chose. So this is 4 1/4 by 5.5, but like standing vertically. And then the 3 by 3 3/4 from the black stars to kind of give them, I wanted to put pumpkins on this, but I wanted to give them some grounding, so that they would stand out a little bit better. And then when I can, if I'm not using my foam tape, rather than using liquid glue, I'm just using my tape runner. It doesn't have to be completely coated on the background to stick down properly. But I do want to lift up, I'm just going to call this the Mama Pumpkin, and give her some dimension off of her 2 kiddos next to her. And there's no rhyme or reason to my foam square placement or how many I use at all this entire video. So pay no attention to that. And obviously put your own spin on these, or just take my ideas and run with them. They are very simple. We are not here to make super, super detailed cards. I came up with these today. I'm trying to get that to focus. Cutest pumpkins. I will link a video down below from Christy Marcotte. I hope I'm saying that right. She took the whole collection, but she tends to use other things that are not from the collection and die cuts and things like that. So if you want a more complicated video on this collection, she may have more of the papers that come in the collection but didn't come in the Peachy Cheap, which is the one I'm showing you here. So just keep that in mind, but I will link her video down below so you can look at a more detailed, and she made a lot more cards than I did. a detailed look at the collection and how you can make some cards if you want to use some other supplies in your stash. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't using much more than the basics like adhesive and stuff from outside of the Peachy Cheap package, if that makes sense. So I am doing another similar card. I do a lot of pairs of cards, so I could cut out 2 backgrounds and then use some of these characters. So this is another pumpkin one, also 3 by 3 3/4 on this black star. And I kind of tried to keep it maybe not in the same place, but I didn't want to cover up all these cute pumpkin faces on that background. So I lifted that one a little higher so I wouldn't be cutting off all those background faces. So they can peek out as well. And then I add an insane amount of foam dots. Maybe too many, maybe too few, depending on who you are. I'm a very much an adhesive overdoer. I don't conserve my adhesive, so I am happy to use plenty and make sure that everything sticks down. And so this one I'm going to be using that Happy Halloween word sticker from our sticker sheet. And then just to give it some added sparkle shine, put some of those epoxy stars in the background. And I used the green to tie into their leaves there. I tried to kind of color coordinate these the best I could without it looking too silly. So then I am grabbing my next setup and layout here. Again, however your card folds is fine. I think I swapped this out for a book folding, but we're going to go top open. I had made a stack of pre-cut cards, and I just wanted to do more top folding cards because I haven't done enough of those. So I had cut a number of those. That's why I had that. So we're going to use the gray ghost background cut to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And then these are the 4 die cut pieces that we will be adding on top. And I, as you can tell, run my tape runner on all 4 edges and an X in the middle to make sure it's held down. And you can also, and you'll see me do this later too, you can also run your tape runner onto your card base. It just depends on what's easier for you. If it's easier for you to have the adhesive on the back of the paper that you're trying to put onto your card base, or if it's easier to put the adhesive on the card base first so that you have a little more leeway in positioning the paper, the pattern paper that you're attaching to it. Sometimes if the glue is on the back of the pattern paper and you've stuck it down in kind of a wonky way, it can be harder to pick up. So I forget that usually I put the adhesive onto the card base and then have none on my pattern paper, and it makes it a little bit easier to use. So in this case, I just ran my tape runner. Again, I didn't want to mess with liquid glue yet. I ran my tape runner on the stick of the lollipop and just kind of fussed around with the adhesive to make it not be on the front, so that it would stick to his hand, and then put it looks like a cake pop to me, and then press down, put the foam adhesive on the back of the cake pop so that it would stick up just like him, or be raised up dimensionally. And then we have our other ghost as well. I was thinking of how I could add more, but, and I know nothing about design or layouts or anything like that, but I could tell that 2 cake pops or 2 lollipops in the same thing was just too much lollipop. And so I wanted to give him something, but I decided to give him a piece of candy, and then I just would lay it over him a little bit. And the other thing I try to avoid is having too many words. And so usually if I have, the word like spooky in the die cut, I won't add more sentiments to it because it already has words, and it also says boo all over the background too. I'm just adding some hearts from the sticker sheet to give it a little more color. on that gray and white background. And if I have, like, one of the little monsters is holding a balloon that says something on it, and so I don't want to go too overboard. I think I did add a sentiment on it. But when something doesn't feel right or look right when you're, trying to find pieces that go together. So just use your judgment. There are no rules about design and layout, and it doesn't really matter. You can make whatever you want. But sometimes if it's too busy with words or too busy with similar images, it just doesn't feel right to you, and you can, figure that out on your own. This one, I will never have a piece of cardstock that I can cut evenly into 2 card bases without having something left over. So it's not truly 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. It's like millimeters off. So I had to kind of slice up the side to even that out, but that's okay. And then I just re-burnished it with my scored thing, bone folder, that's what it's called, to flatten it again so I could work with it. So our sentiment on this one is just the Beautiful tag. There's a lot of cute tags in the ephemera die cut package. And I wanted to make sure he had plenty of foam tape. And I thought he looked better on the left. And I used so many foam squares at some point that I'm grabbing several at once and sticking them down, grabbing 2, 3 at a time. It just makes it easier. I've kind of had this whole bag of dimensionals, foam squares, There's some from Stampin' Up! And some from other places. For so long, I figured I would use some of them. I am looking for other bits and bobs to add to the card to give it a little more life. Looking on the sticker sheet. And so on some of them, I end up adding these border stickers, and I really like sticker sheets that come with these. It's a very easy way to just add a little more interest to your card. And so this is usually how I do it. I know this looks kind of silly, but you just kind of measure it, line it up, and then stick it down. So we're not peeling up this whole border sticker. We can save the rest for another card. And then you're conserving it, and so I then just trim it off and then stick it back down onto the sticker sheet and trim off the other edge if necessary. And then I had some excess paper, so I'm trimming up the whole side of the card base. And then you can conserve the rest of that sticker for next time, and you have some interest on the bottom of your card. So I used that as kind of a border, and then I was looking for other stickers I could add. I probably end up going with some stars, but maybe not for that one. So that was enough for me. So then we get to use our teal sky. I really like this background a lot, so I was kind of trying to find some teal monsters and other bits to add on to those. And I didn't end up being able to think of a card I wanted to use with those black and white dots on the background. I prefer the teal sky side much more, so I won't have a card with that background. And when you do apply your pattern paper to your card base, you want to start by lining it up on the spine side, because as long as that part is lined up, if anything is longer or your card base is longer and the pattern paper is too short, you can always trim off the end of the open side, but you can't trim the spine of the card. I'm saying that like it's a book, but you can't trim off or else you'd ruin your card and cut open the spine of it. So you always want to line up your pattern paper starting at your spine, whether it's on the top or the left side or whatever. And then you can always fix the rest of it later by trimming anything off that you need to. So here I'm working in a purple cloud, which may not totally match. I don't mind purple and teal together, but I think it's fine. And then our little orange shorts monster guy. And I decided to go with the orange Happy Halloween die cut piece sentiment to kind of bring that pop of color out of his shorts as well. There are other sentiments in the die cut set that are clearly more for people who scrapbook with photos. One of them was like cutest costumes on the block or something like that. So they're for scrapbooking with photos. And I think I used one of them. It was like cutest costume or something. I'll use one of the arrow ones. I'm just trimming off the edge here because the white was peeking out from my card base. So some of them may not apply to a card. Like it wouldn't make very much sense to put it on a card. But if you do want to use the remainder of the items to scrapbook with photos, then that might work out for you. So here is our other teal sky background. We'll stick this down to the card base with my layers and layers of adhesive, trying to get that centered before we press it down. And then we've got 2 more teal monsters. I was happy with the amount of teal monsters in there, so I could fill up my teal sky background. I think I end up going with another border strip here. It may seem a little much, and I think it is kind of, I don't know, it's a little loud. But I ended up using it because there is kind of a teal blue strip in there, so I could get away with it matching some of it. It might be more blue than teal, but that's okay. So I'm going to put that along the edge of the card on the right side there. And then we will put the Trick or Treat ephemera die cut piece kind of as a flag banner on the upper right, overlapping that. And then grab our 2 monsters here. I believe I stuck with both of the monsters. Actually, now I'm not sure. I think I get rid of the monster with horns and just do this one because I wanted him to have enough space for his sucker, his lollipop, and then other candy. So I decided to not use the bigger monster. And then I probably set this guy up a little too high. So if you're following along with me, if you want to set him down a little bit lower, and you can watch the rest of this card before you do it, if you are following along, and see where you should place him. I think I placed him too high because I need him to be holding his sucker, and I wanted more space for that. So he should probably be a little bit lower. I am putting some foam tape on the back of the sucker part and then running my adhesive and then making sure none of that adhesive is on the front of the die cut piece. And he did need to be a little bit lower. And there is another card where I pick up somebody I've already stuck down, but this case I just left him. And then I just tucked his sucker under him a little bit and stuck it down there. And then I added 2 other candy pieces from the die cuts. And I just used my tape runner for adhesive on those. But yeah, I would move him down a little bit further. You can always move the little candies down further too. But then that way you've got more room for his sucker. And then here, I was about to use glue and I decided to use foam squares. I will use glue eventually. The die cut pack comes with a good number of candy corns, so that's really good for just adding on to any of the cards that are about candy or trick-or-treating as little accents. So I was happy that they included a lot of the candy corn bits. And then we're going to use this yellow paper. I think it's just circles and lines. It is the back side of the one that has these cutouts. And I will be using one of the cutouts that was left, and it was just by luck. It was not by choice. I looked on the back of the paper I had left and used the only cutout that was whole still, but it ended up making a really cute card, so you'll see that one. And I decided to pick these 2 guys here because they're just goofy looking and they look like they belong together. And so this is, I believe, the the only card where I'm going to use some of the letters from the sticker sheet, I recommend finding more ways to use the letters on the sticker sheet. Just make sure that you spell it out before you pick them up to make sure that you have enough, because there's only so many of each letter. This one I had plenty to do my little sentiment that I create. But I wanted to get these guys next to each other first. And then we can use our sticker sheet to build that sentiment. It is going to say Candy Crew. And how I usually work on a sentiment like this is, it was going to be a little wonky anyway, so I wasn't worried about it being straight. But whenever I do anything like this, whether it's with die cut letters or letter stickers or anything like that, and you only have a certain amount of room, I always do the first and the last letter, and then I work with the rest in between. In this case, I kind of had to eyeball it because they're stickers, so they're already sticky, so I can't really set them down and line them up beforehand. It's a lot easier to do that if you have die cut letters that are just paper and they don't have any glue on them yet. So you can lay them out and line them up and make sure that they will fit before you put them down. But I still usually tend to do first letter and last letter first, and then I fill in the other letters in between. In this case, it worked out fine. They were going to be kind of wonky directionally anyway. So we have our Candy Crew, and then I think I was looking for candy stickers, but then I settled on more candy corn. And I was getting my glue out because I just wanted to stick these to the background, and I was trying to kind of unclog my glue. It kind of clogged itself, but it wasn't totally clogged, so it worked out fine. I need to clear out that one a little bit, I think. So I decided to put, I think I ended up with only 3 of those, and then I also included maybe 4 of them. I should have done an odd number because it ended up looking, I think, a little silly. But I added in, I think, some epoxy stars. So I did end up using quite a few of the epoxy stars. It's just a really easy way to add some shine and some interest to each card. So this is kind of a goofy card, but I thought it was cute. So we have that one, and then our second one with this background, but we're turning it the other way, and we're going to go long ways. So we have our little balloon guy, and he has the sentiment Booyah, but then also there's this best costume arrow, so I'm going to point that over at the green guy. So that's kind of it for the sentiments on the card, because we don't want it to be too busy. And this is more of the card pieces I cut up that I'm not going to be able to use, but that's okay. I think that Halloween one would have been fun, but the one I ended up with is really cute, so I'm excited for you to see that card. So we have our background stuck down. I'm going to be using some of this washi tape. I wasn't super pleased because one side, like the non-green edge of the washi tape, was dirty. So you can tell it was kind of old, or it had been sitting a while. I'm not sure. It's fine because once you unroll it, you can't really tell. But the washi tape itself, as it came, was kind of dirty, like it wasn't stored properly. So that was kind of gross, but it's fine. You can either trim those off, or you can just fold it over the edge on itself, like I did. And just did that to give a little bit of interest, just like the border stickers from the sticker sheet, but I wanted to use the washi tape on at least one card that I did. And then this guy needs some extra foam squares because he has a lot going on. And I put one in the middle of his balloon to support him. He was still a little wobbly, but it worked out fine. And then we will set him next to his friend. And then lift his friend up on some foam squares as well. I think partially through making these, I kind of pictured all of these little monsters living in their own little Halloween world, and it made me very happy that they were just out trick-or-treating and being cute. And that's all. It just kind of halfway through, I was in this little monster world in my head, and it was adorable. So there's that. So I'm going to overlap a little bit onto the washi tape and point at him for best costume. He at least has best costume on this card. And then I wanted to add a little bit of interest. So I put the green heart with the flower on it. There's also a lot of flower. I wanted to use another heart, but I went with a star. I didn't want to overdo it on the hearts. There are a lot of flower die cut pieces, but I couldn't really find a good card to use any of those on, so I ended up not using those. But I did use these corners, and I really like that pop of purple, and I believe I used the other two on another card. That turned out really cute. So this one is very random, but there you go. So this one is where I cut out that last remaining piece that worked, but I did cut off some of all of the edges. So if you just cut out the image where the lines are, it is bigger than that, but I did cut it down. So if you want to look at mine, I cut it down to just basically where the Night Squad was, with a little bit of border around them. And then I cut down the black star background, just a little bit bigger than that. And I literally just held it in my trimmer and moved the black star background a little bit until I was happy with how thick the border was. And then I trimmed it in my trimmer. So I don't even know what these measurements are. Just eyeball it and trim the Night Squad guys down to a little bit smaller, and then trim some black stars a little bit bigger. And then you've got a border. And then I decided to use more of my teal sky background for this to stand out on. It did look good on just white as well, but I wanted to have something back there because I had set this piece here that I'm putting together. I had just set that on top of the white card and it looked fine, but I wanted to have something going on, especially since it said Night Squad. I wanted to have the cloud and the moon and everything and have it be nighttime. And so in this case, I'm using my foam tape strips, so I don't have to do a million foam squares to lift this up and give it some dimension. And then I peel these up and then decide I wanted to support it a little bit more, so I do more in between the ones that are already there. And then add even more because I don't want it to sink in the middle. So if you do have foam tape, I recommend the 3M rolls of foam tape from like Amazon. They just come in handy a lot. Or if you want to use foam squares, that's fine too. If you're putting something through the mail, you want to support it quite a bit, or else it's going to look a little crunchy on the other end, unless that doesn't bother you. But you want to give it enough support when it goes through the mailing system. It tends to get squished a little bit. I'm adding some black stars to the background of our Night Squad. I thought that would represent the nighttime pretty well. So we kind of ended up using the monster with the horns in a different way. He was just on another piece of paper. So I really liked that card. And then I really, really, really like my last card, which is not yet, but I'll let you know. So this background, if you'd prefer a different one, you can work with what you have left, but it is a little busy. It honestly hurts my eyes a little bit to look at it, but I'm just super sensitive, I guess, when it comes to everything, visually, smells, perfumes, things like that. So staring at this too long was very busy for my eyeballs, but I figured it was a good backdrop for some monsters. So this is the die cut piece that is 3 or 4 monsters, it's going to require a lot of foam squares. I had considered using my foam tape, but then I just grabbed my foam squares and went to town. And then one more. When you do this enough, you get pretty quick. This is also sped up, probably not as quick as someone else could do it, but you get pretty quick at peeling up the back side of your foam tape and foam squares. This is, it's 3 monsters and a pumpkin. So I wanted to give them a background, but I also kind of wanted to distract a little bit from the craziness on the background. So I added the orange sticker border. And I'm just lining it up like I did before to the bottom of the card and then pressing it down just to make it easier. And then I will trim it off so that the rest of the orange strip stays on that sticker sheet for the next time. And then trimming off the other end. And then we've got something that kind of ties in with the pumpkin and the hair on the far right purple guy. So just getting those colors to match a little bit. And then I'm going to use the Trick or Treat sentiment sticker. And then to also work with the purple guys a little bit, I will use the other 2 purple corner stickers. So it detracts a little bit away from the kind of insane background while also bringing in the colors that are in the monsters. So I think that worked out pretty well. And then, I cut a foam square in half to lift up. I also had to kind of trim it because it was showing, to lift up his little ears because I kept running into them with my hands and I felt bad and I thought maybe they were going to flatten if I didn't give him some support. So now he's better. He's all supported with his ears. And I decided, since it was a trick or treat card, I decided to add candy corn to it as well. And I had to kind of unclog my glue. It had been sitting for a little bit and I hadn't used it. It tends to dry very quickly, which is what I want in a glue, but maybe not while it's open and I need to squeeze it out. So then I added in some candy corn to bring out the yellow and the orange as well. And then our other one, this super cute haunted house die cut. So you want to grab these 4 die cut pieces, the 3 ghosts shown here, and the little haunted house one. There's also a school bus one I was considering using, but I thought this haunted house one was pretty cute. And then the ghosts around it could be like closer up, and then the house could be farther away because the haunted house also has ghosts on it. And then I decided to use my foam tape on this one. I wanted to lift it up. I also wanted to make sure it was supported well enough. So then I will put that in the center. I probably should have moved it a tiny bit to the right. It works out okay, but this ghost I put on the left, I think he needed a little bit more room than I gave him. But it works out fine. And then the other 2 ghosts end up on the right side to kind of even it out. And that whole odd numbered thing kind of works out here. Like he got kind of squished off to the left, but that's okay. But by having 3 ghosts, it just looks, it's a brain thing. I don't know. Odd numbers. I was looking for something I could put kind of as the sentiment, and I love these little tabs that it came with, so I decided to use the Scarecrew tab in the bottom right in the gray color to match the background. But then we also needed some stars since it is nighttime, so I put some of those in the background. And then you have your Scarecrew. So then for the last card, I believe, pretty sure this is the last card. I really like this one. So I was kind of going for like the pastel-oween effect. I did have black in there, but these pastel pinky purple like Pinkoween, Pasteloween. I really love pink Halloween stuff. I was trying to keep it like pink and purple centered. I do end up using the Monster Friends stickers. So Monster and then Friends. Monster is like purple. And then that Friends one is orange. So it won't be totally pink and purple, but that's okay. So I decided to put this background strip on both edges of the card. So you will see me do that. And then I wanted to make sure I was sticking with only using what came with the kit, which I believe I have done. And I didn't want to kind of go outside of that. I was thinking maybe some pink washi tape for the edges or something. This worked out just fine. And I thought about that, but I said, no, I don't want to use something that's not from the kit. I want people to be able to make all of these cards if they just got the Peachy Cheap kit and they don't have anything else. So there will be a little pop of orange on those stickers that I end up choosing. But that's okay because it still worked out. And I think this is one of my favorite cards that I made. So I'm going to lift these guys up on foam tape, but I'm going to start with putting down the middle guy first. I will put foam tape on this one here. But the little weird monster with like the glasses and the hair and like no arms, I think is really funny. Then I'm going to stick him down first so he's in the middle. And this is another mistake I made. I need to just lay them down where I want them to go and then pick one up and put it down, you know, pick off the adhesive back, because putting him in the middle, I forget that the guy on the left is a little bigger. And so he's kind of like smushed like that ghost was in the last one. And then our far right guy is a little bit smaller. And so he has too much room. So I do end up, and it works out fine because you can't tell, even if I had ripped a little bit of the paper underneath, I pick him up and I just resituate him, and the foam squares are still plenty sticky. So I want him a little further to the right. So we're going to pick him up and fix our foam squares and just kind of bend him back into place and put him more in the middle so that they look more even. And then from the sticker sheet, I am going to be using Monster Friends. Just cutesy, doesn't have to be straight. And then all of the kind of like as close to pinky purple pastel as I could get. I think the teal looks really cute too, but I was out of purple stars. I used a purple star from the sticker sheet, and from the sticker sheet also this little circle guy that matched the other monster, and I put that on the inside of the card. So feel free to use all the stickers on the insides of your cards. So now I will show you all of the cards that we made today. Hopefully this inspired you a little bit, or if you just wanted to make some quick, silly, goofy cards and you got this kit, then hopefully this helped you. And I'd love to see what you made, so let me know. I'll link my Instagram down below. And thank you for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.